On Mother's Day, according to the Daily Wire, employees at a Cheesecake Factory in Miami, Florida, verbally attacked and made threatening gestures toward a black man who dined with his girlfriend. Why? He was wearing a Make America Great Again hat.
Hold up.
Happened on Sunday. It's the Cheesecake Factory located inside the Dadeland Mall in Miami. A 22-year-old named Eugenio Joseph was seated while wearing the MAGA hat. According to several witnesses and his own account, a woman who worked at the restaurant walked up to him, started pointing at his hat, signaling for other employees to come over. One witness said this, and I'm quoting the witness. Her finger was literally on top of his head. We were all looking at her like, what is happening? She was pointing at him, calling her other coworkers, telling them to look at this guy wearing a Make America Great Again hat. End of quote. At that point, according to the article in the Daily Wire, about a dozen or so employees approached the table, began making comments about the hat, with some saying they wanted to punch Joseph in the face. Witnesses also alleged that some of the employees referred to him as an N-word in their conversations among each other. By the way, we know the race of Joseph. We don't know the race of any of these employees. They don't mention that at all in this story. Another witness said this, quote, so then all of the employees started standing there saying things out loud like, I'm going to knock his head in so hard his hat is going to come off, end of quote. Joseph, the black man who had the MAGA hat, said, quote, referring to one employee who made gestures, clenching his fists, making hand gestures as if he wanted to engage in a fist fight. Joseph said, quote, he got behind me and another coworker came by and they were staring at each other and he fist bumped him and then he started looking at me, balling his fists, smacking his fists, trying to scare me, close quote. I wonder if they're going to close all the Cheesecake Factories for a day of racial sensitivity training. Another witness told the Daily Wire that the group of employees looked like a lynch mob and that they couldn't stand to see a black man wearing a hat that showed support for the president. He got up to use the restroom and employees continued mocking him. Quote, I got up, went to the restroom, my girlfriend followed me, and as we were walking back, a group of the employees came from the back and they started clapping and yelling and just screaming things at me, end of quote. Another witness, says the Daily Caller, verified the claim, saying that the employees in the kitchen were booing Joseph loudly as he walked by. One witness said the event was so traumatic and threatening that an elderly woman who was present had to take medication to calm herself down. Several witnesses said as the couple exited the restaurant, the manager followed them out and told them that some of the employees admitted to their actions and that one of them had been sent home. The police had been called to the scene, documented the incident in the police report, but didn't file any charges. The Daily Wire contacted the Cheesecake Factory, where the alleged incident took place. By the way, I think a couple times I said Daily Caller. I meant Daily Wire. Daily Wire contacted the Cheesecake Factory, where the incident took place, spoke to a manager who refused to answer any questions, and instead recorded the reporter's contact information, had a public relations firm representing the Cheesecake Factory reach out to the reporter. And when the reporter brought up the incident and asked whether or not he could confirm that it took place, guy says, I'm going to have to have somebody get back in touch with you, end of quote.
I'm not going to apologize for it, but I'm a white guy.
Daily Wire reviewed a bunch of video clips and photos to validate the claims made by the witnesses and the victim himself. Joseph says he's new to politics. He's 22 years old, but he wears a hat because he thinks Trump, quote, is a really good president, close quote. And he says he's disappointed that a black man can't wear a hat in a restaurant to support the president without being attacked, end of quote. Last hour, we got a phone call from somebody who reminded us of the nasty things that were said about Antonin Scalia. And
I want to refresh my memory because when Justice Scalia died, didn't we have somebody make a big comment over that being such a great thing?
A number of people on the left.
That?
A number of people on the left were very happy with his death. Absolutely, and said so.
It was no secret either.
No,
it was vocal, but no one said anything, and we're not ignorant of what's going on. You know, the thing is to remove the president. That's just the bottom line.
And here's what Mr. Moore said.
How can anything get done in America when you have to run it by Antonin Scalia first?
Wow.
Apparently at that very hour...
He died.
He died. He could have been watching the show
that is so
thinking,
funny.
I like Bill Maher so much. Okay. But, so, look... Yeah. You're not supposed to speak ill of the dead. So let me not name call, but let me fact call. Because I have listened for 2 weeks about he was a brilliant jurist and he was a great intellectual. Excuse me, Antonin Scalia was put on earth to remind poor people that the law is not your friend.
Yeah.
You mentioned Bush versus Gore. He gave us President George Bush. He also found an individual right to bear arms that is so not in the Constitution.
He also believes in the devil.
The devil, yes.
My feeling is, this is America. It's a free country. You can believe in the devil, but if you do, you can't be on the Supreme Court. Right. One or the other.
Right. You know
that's enough. I'm getting a headache. This is a guy who used to call himself a libertarian, saying that there isn't an individual right in the Second Amendment, really? Even people on the left like Alan Dershowitz and Lawrence Tribe, two of the bigger names in the law professor community, both lefties, both say that it's an individual right to keep and bear arms. And Bill Maher used to call himself a libertarian until he came on my show and I questioned him about calling himself that, and that's the last time we ever had any exchange on the air. I guess he had his feelings hurt. And Antonin Scalia once gave an interview. And he said, look, these issues, like abortion, doctor-assisted suicide, same-sex marriage, we don't know anything about these. I have no expertise in any of these areas. The Constitution was designed so that issues like this would be handled in the normal democratic process by the states. But you force them on us, so we have to make decisions. But we were not designed to do these kinds of things. What do I know about abortion? I'm a lawyer, he said. I would have thought Bill Maher would have liked that. The supposed libertarian. Coming up, Daniel Pipes, president of the Middle East Forum, one of the more respected analysts about the Middle East. Written 16 books. More on this in due course. I'm Larry Elder. Please don't leave town.
You know, the idea that this brilliant mind stumbling in the woods like Dumbledore in his...
Larry will be right back.